Oof, my hair is getting so long I look like Joey Pantoliano from Sopranos, his character.
Black, it's me. Tony.
People wonder why I'm always wearing a hat. I really shouldn't wear a hat so often. Way back in July, I did a video about fixing the Montreal Canadiens problems. And there's two problems that slap you right in the face. It's the second line and the right side of the defense. Back then we talked about the second line. How about we talk about the defense? But it's not just as simple as throwing in a gritty, big, right-handed, right shot defenseman. You got to rejig a few things, right? So let's talk about it.
A little tap there, I like it. That's engaged this year, but what the Penguins did.
Montreal Canadiens have a problem, and it's kind of a weird problem to have. Because when you cover one eye and look at the defense on paper, it actually looks really good. You've got Hutson, who just put up 78 points and has already established himself as one of the most dynamic offensive defensemen in the NHL. Then you have Noah Dobson, 6'4", can move the puck, plays big minutes, and was brought in specifically to give Montreal another legitimate top pair defenseman. Then you have Minute Muncher Mike, still capable of putting up 25-26 minutes a night, moves the puck extremely well, defensively responsible, and has a touch of offense as well. And then let's not forget about Kaiden Guhle, who was supposed to be the guy who eventually gave this defense some size, physicality, and shutdown ability. So then why does it feel like the defensive squad is the low-hanging fruit on this team? Something feels missing. Well, because there is. And you know what? Something feels missing on this channel. It's you. Have you hit that subscribe button, Pascal? We're well on our way to 27,000 subscribers. Can you help me get there? Yeah, I look at the stats. Like 70% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. I'm on to you. If you're already subscribed, don't worry about it. Hit the like button because it helps me too, I think. So don't get too ahead of me. I know, I said it in the intro. We think we know what we need on this team to really solidify the defense. The Canadiens don't need another defenseman who can score. They don't need a small defenseman who can move the puck quickly. They don't need a guy to quarterback the power play. They need a support guy. They need a guy who pairs with someone and makes them better, but who is responsible and who can be called on when needed on the right side. So who could that be? Let's call it what it is. Mike Matheson, Hutson, Noah Dobson, they all have spots on this team. Mike Matheson might be punching above his weight limit sometimes, and he might not be the go-to guy you necessarily want, but he isn't the problem. Effectively, you have those three guys that they're the sure thing, right? Or are they? I recorded this entire video and I didn't like where I ended up. So I'm back again today. Let's try this again. You might be familiar with an old riddle about a fox, a chicken, and a bag of grain. Basic idea is that you have a fox, a chicken, a bag of grain, and you want to cross the river, but you can't leave certain combinations alone. You leave the fox with the chicken. You have a problem. The fox eats the chicken. Leave the chicken with the grain. Chicken's going to eat that grain. So you're constantly moving things around to create combinations that actually work. And I think that is a really good metaphor for Montreal's defensive pairings right now. Those three pieces, Matheson, Hutson, Dobson. Here's the thing. They're all really good defensemen, but you can't throw them together and assume you have a perfect pairing because they don't necessarily support each other's weaknesses. It's not that they don't have good skills that they can lend to each other. It's that they don't support their weaknesses. Let's start with Matheson. He's probably the most balanced out of all the defensemen. He plays huge minutes. Like he's been on the leaderboard for defensemen for like how many years now? He's a really good skater. So he's a good puck moving defenseman. He can contribute offensively and he can also defend. But Matheson defends a lot with his stick and his stick breaks a lot. That's just a joke, but it's true. But the point is he's not necessarily going to overwhelm his opponents physically. He's okay in that department, but he's going to lose against a lot of opponents. So he uses his positioning, his skating, his stick to disrupt plays and to shut down offensive pushes. And generally that's fine for him. But then you look at the other two guys, Hutson. Hutson is an offensive machine. When he gets the puck, Montreal's entire attack changes. But defensively, Hutson survives through his compete level. his anticipation, his ability to get in those passing lanes. He works his butt off. Yeah, there's no doubt. I feel like he's going 110% every shift that he's out there. But he's a smaller defenseman. There's simply going to be situations where he cannot physically out-battle his opponent. And that's not an insult. It's not a trait that he has. It's just reality. It's not as if he's a bad player because he can't do that. He's not a 6'4", 220-pound defenseman. And if he was, he wouldn't have some of the skills that are more inherent to a smaller player. So ideally, you want someone beside him who can handle those types of situations. Someone who can win a battle in the corner, someone who can clear the front of the net. Which brings us to Dobson, right? This is where some people could disagree with me, but I think that the community is kind of come to a consensus on this, because Dobson's exactly the type of defenseman you think that Montreal was missing in terms of puck movement and size. He's big, he's right-handed, he can skate, he can move the puck, he plays a ton of minutes, he's a really good player. But I still don't think he's necessarily the ideal partner for Hutson, because a lot of what Dobson brings defensively is also based around his stick, his positioning, and his ability to play, kind of like Matheson. He's not necessarily, I have to watch myself here, he's not necessarily a guy that's going to erase the physical deficiencies of his partner on his line. So you've got Hutson, who needs a little bit of physical insulation, playing with Dobson, who isn't necessarily providing that insulation. Then there's Matheson. Matheson and Hutson are both left-handed. So again, the chicken, fox, egg of grain. So you're looking at your best defenseman and thinking, wait a minute, how do I actually put these guys together? So it's difficult for me, because in one way it's a dream to have all these guys on the team, but it's as if Montreal doesn't have too many good defensemen. It's that they don't necessarily have the right mix of defensemen. So I really hope that Lalonde can figure that out somehow. So we've talked about those three guys. I think it's a good time to bring up Kaiden Guhle. And I think the conversation around Ghoulie has become a little bit too simplistic, because yes, his availability is a problem. There's no way around it. He's constantly injured. It's very difficult to build a defensive identity around you and find your role and mold your defensive lineup when one of your key guys is out for, 1/4 of the year. But I also think we have to acknowledge something here. Ghoulie took a step backwards last season. And that's important, because I don't think Ghoulie suddenly became a bad defenseman last season. I think he became a defenseman caught in a really awkward situation, because think of the depth chart. You got Matheson, you got Hutson, both left shot defensemen. And then you have Dobson. Those three guys eat up a ton of your top 4 minutes. So where does Ghoulie fit in that equation? He's supposed to be a top 4 defenseman, but if your top 2 pairings are already spoken for, you're suddenly asking Ghoulie to play on a third pair, which honestly, that's not where Ghoulie belongs. Again, that's why I have toyed around with the idea that maybe Montreal has created good equity in Kaiden Guhle, and maybe he could be a player on the move. But in a way that feels hypocritical, because he has size, he has skating, he has the physical tools that Montreal needs right now. So he should be getting top 4 minutes. Instead, we're seeing Montreal in a strange situation where they're pushing one of their biggest, most physically gifted defensemen out of a role that he was supposed to grow into. So that creates another problem, because if Ghoulie isn't the answer to your big physical partner, who is? Well, to me, this is another transition year for the Montreal Canadiens. And so far this summer, we haven't seen any big traits. To make it easy on themselves, management would have loved to have secured a right shot defenseman or a second line offensive player. But because of the accelerated rebuild, because of where Montreal is, it's really a shame that they're leaving their cupboards full and not allowing talented young individuals into the lineup. I think that this is the year to do that. We're waiting on Hage. I think that we could see Owen Beck implemented into the lineup. If injuries happen, yeah, I think the other players could be getting chances as well. And then there's David Reinbacher. And I purposefully framed this so that it wouldn't just be about David Reinbacher, because I don't think that this is necessarily the ultimate solution. But this is time for Reinbacher to or get off the pot, because I actually think things could get interesting. Reinbacher is exactly the type of defenseman that Montreal should want right now. 6'3", right-handed, mobile, defensively minded, can move the puck. He's only 21. He was drafted 5th overall for a reason. His development has been set back because there's one massive problem. You can't count on him yet. It's another availability issue, just like Kaiden Guhle. But it was a promising season for Reinbacher last year. He's not going to blow your hair back. He's not a flashy type defenseman, but that's not what Montreal is looking for. He's the type of defenseman that's hard to play against. So there's a real shot that he comes in and he's exactly what Montreal needs. And when I say that it's time for him to show up, he's got like exactly one season to do it. Because at the end of this season, Alexandre Carrier is at the end of his contract. Carrier is a player that I have defended in the past. I think he's a really good defenseman, but he lacks size, and he somewhat compensates for his ability to move the puck by taking a hit to make a play. And I think halfway through the season, every season, that wears on him a lot. So I think the question becomes, can Reinbacher at least be an upgrade to Carrier? So let's say that happens. What else has to happen with the defense? Well, maybe they can keep Ghoulie. Maybe he does become a bottom pair defenseman, but maybe he shares minutes with another defenseman who has the role to shut down offensive pushes, like Matheson. They still need one more right shot defenseman, and who could that be? There are players waiting in the wings, but they're not ready yet. I'm really high on Timothy Runso. I think that he could be someone in the future that Montreal uses for their size, and being a right shot helps as well. He'll be in the NCAA this season, and I'm going to be watching him with great interest. Do they re-sign Carrier? Yeah, they could. I still think that if they can find someone that can play the right side with some physicality, putting them on the bottom pair, yeah, that's it can't hurt. Just please use them for more than 7 minutes per game. So the answer to the question, how do you fix the defensive pairings? I think it starts with finding a defensive partner for Lane Hutson, someone who can play the right side so Hutson doesn't have to play his offside. Upgrading Matheson's partner, it doesn't need to be necessarily right away. And it could be a right shot defenseman who shares time with him in another line. And then I guess lastly, it would be either figuring something out with Kaiden Guhle, or maybe it's moving Kaiden Guhle and shoring up a right side guy instead. Maybe give more bottom line minutes to someone like, hey, Harbor Jack guy. That's going to do it for me, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. I put a lot of thought into it. Tell me how you see things. I know many of you buy into the narrative that Mike Matheson, he's given too many minutes and he makes too many mistakes. But then give me your solution there. How do you compensate for the time that Mike Matheson absorbs? The big picture stuff of this is that, you know, the defensive lineup, in terms of salary, everyone is a steal. The economy in the NHL has gotten just as ridiculous as the economy out of the NHL. So making trades, finding different players, it's going to be a tricky thing if you want to keep the same cap structure that the Montreal Canadiens are currently working off of. I want to hear all your thoughts. Just let me know below. I want to see what you have to say. That's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for your continued support. And you guys know what to do. Like the video. It helps me out with search results or something like that. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I'd love to have you. And as always, I will see you down in the comments.